never know I was here first. Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. I feel like it already started. We have a public hearing for Katie Hauser. Is Katie Hauser here? Anybody representing Katie Hauser?
Was that Roseanne's daughter?
I don't know. They don't require that question on the application.
No, I'm just asking because, you know.
She's what?
Isn't she Katie Jones?
Yeah,
I think.
yeah, that was Roseanne Hauser's daughter, I thought, okay. Go on with it.
So can we do a public hearing without her giving us a, why don't we hold off a little bit? Can we hold off on the public
We
hearing?
can hold off, and if she doesn't, for some reason, come, we can continue it till next month. That's all.
Okay, fine. Okay. There's a request, an application for Mark Kesler for a special permit for a residence office in his home on 33 Grouse Lane. But that person's not here either.
Right, but first we have to act to add it to the evening's agenda because it came in on Friday, and then it needs to be scheduled for hearing. So we need a motion to add it to the agenda.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So you can put it on next month?
And we can schedule it for next month.
Thank you.
It'll be November 3rd.
Okay. So we're gonna move into our work session. Stephen, you're on tonight. You're voting tonight.
I wasn't present for the public hearing on this, so I'm out.
Me either. No, I'm just kidding. All right, so Mr. Garcia, are you here to talk to us about the gas station?
No. For the record, my name is John Fulhurst, and I'm here representing 1655 Litchfield Turnpike. Application in front of you for a gas station. We discussed it last month, and you were waiting for a report from Inland Wetlands. The application has been approved by the Inland Wetlands Commission, and that record is, and that document is not part of your record. I don't think there's anything else. I think we discussed it at length. It is for a convenience store gas station. And that's basically it. There's really not much to add.
Well, do you think maybe you could give us a little dog and pony show?
Oh, I thought we did that much.
And, well, actually, we're gonna have you, that's true.
Fine.
Well, actually, it's interesting. Why isn't the work session, and why hasn't it been continued since we didn't really?
I don't know, I wasn't-
We didn't get the comments from.
There was no public hearing.
No.
It didn't need one.
But we didn't really actually hear the whole thing because we were waiting to hear from wetlands.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, I went through.
There was a full presentation, but we held off acting on it because.
Until-
it was not
There was
The only action, yeah, I apologize.
There was a full presentation at the July 7th meeting, then we continued it to the July 23rd meeting, thinking that wetlands might have acted, and they hadn't yet.
Right.
And so you had a presentation at the July 7th meeting.
Oh, right, but so we don't get another presentation after
I can give
wetlands?
you one.
From wetlands? No, I mean, from wetlands, we don't get an update on what wetlands said to you?
Yeah,
You have a copy
It's
of
in the
their
package.
permit.
That's not the point. I know it's in the package.
I read, and there were no conditions, as I understand it, attached.
That's correct.
And you had said to us earlier that it was a 24/7 operation, you presume. Do you have any update on that?
No, but we do have one, there was only one item that the reviewing engineer for the town of Wetlands suggested, and then we just revised a handicap space. As far as the hours of operation, the intent is to run it as a 24/7. That will have to come back when the guy comes to pull his permit, he'll have to clarify that.
Okay.
But there's no restriction on it, so it's not a matter of requiring another public hearing, it's just a matter of he'll have to clarify that when he comes for his building permits.
And all the containers are being removed?
All the containers are being removed, the bank is being cleaned up. That is a condition, by the way. That was a condition of the inland wetlands permit, is that the banks have to be cleaned up. All the tires in the back of the place. There are tires in back here. There was some stuff dumped. We have to rebuild some of the areas in here and clean it up. But for the most part, we're not going to hit the stream other than pick up the trash. That's on both sides, not just the gas station side, but actually on the other side of the stream also. He's supposed to clean up both sides of the stream.
But you're not gonna be physical.
Not in this lifetime. No, it's condition of approval. I think that was the only one that the Wetlands Commission imposed. They want a bond, they want some other items, but for the most part, this is pretty straightforward. It's cut and dried.
I doubt it's cut and dry, but okay.
So the containers are gone, they're not coming back?
That's correct. And the painting, the building somebody had graffitied the building, that got cleaned up.
Is it the same building, or you're putting a new building up?
That building, for the time being, that building will be refurbished. At some point, he may come in with an addition, with a modification. We're talking to the same architect that did the Starbucks across the street. Or not, we don't know that yet, but that's basically, right now, the intent is just to refurbish the building that's there.
You spoke at the public hearing about the entrance and exit, so do you want to just refresh our recollections as to how that works?
Right now, we have, and that is the only thing that's gonna change. We're in discussions with DOT, which is a joy all the time, and the south entrance is gonna change to an exit only, controlled by the stoplight.
Okay.
Right now, we have it as an entrance and an exit. And what DOT is worried about is somebody coming north, or somebody coming south on 69, trying to get in, which, as I said to DOT, makes absolutely zero sense. I mean, if you're coming south on 69, you're gonna come in through this one. You're not coming in through here. And so their attitude was they want to shut this and neck it down. So this is gonna be an exit only. And this will be an exit and entrance, but it will be no left turn. And those are the only modifications we got from DOT. We're gonna make these 3 employee parking spaces, and this is gonna be signalized. There's already a signal at the island. There's a signal that controls this exit, and there's a head on this mast arm that controls this exit. And those are gonna be signalized to this. But those, and then the sidewalk, we're adding the sidewalk. Which,
That's good.
well,
To the village district.
that's, but see, and I'm laughing about this because when I first started this process and we went to DOT, what I'm telling you now is what DOT Pond Lily did not want. And when I talked to Terry Gilbertson, and Kriska was actually part of that conversation, we discussed the sidewalk, and the sidewalk ended up coming out. And the entrance is revised. And now we're back to square one. So it's kind of circular, but yeah, I agree with you. The sidewalk, I think, is an excellent idea. I think the sidewalk ties this together very nicely. They're working up here on the entrance ramps on Lucy Street, and they're gonna fix the sidewalk here, and they're gonna put a sidewalk down to Pond Lily. So I think a sidewalk across the frontage on this thing is an excellent idea.
So the convenience store and the gas station are gonna share the same driveways or not?
Yes,
Yes, right.
yes.
That's where they take the money.
And I thought we talked about getting to take a look at the architectural review of the
Yeah, we'll bring it back. We'll be more happy to bring it back. Yeah, that's not an issue. We've done,
That one you've already approved, you've
Right.
acted on. This is only for the
This
gas
is the gas
station
station.
kiosk.
the convenience store, I thought was a done deal.
That's done.
So I know I insisted.
That you give a little presentation here. So is there anything else that we actually didn't discuss at the other meeting that you suddenly remember tonight?
No, like I said, the only issue we're having is the typical issues we have with DOT. And just to give you an update, by the way, I was told by one of the traffic engineers that this is probably gonna be on their hot list for this year. And I'll believe that when I see it. But they're actually saying that there's commissioner interest in getting that intersection resolved. Yeah, I know, thank you. I thought I'd make you laugh.
Yeah, because the idea that intersection being corrected is gonna resolve
The issues the traffic issues like on Lucy Street and 63 and 69?
I think
Is that the
they
idea?
probably have a marijuana medical facility in the basement of DOT, but don't tell anybody that. Thank you. Yeah, well, I do every day, and it's just, you go to Pond Lily and you get one set of answers,
Yeah, not
and you go to and you go to DOT Newington, you get a second set of answers, and when you put the two sets of answers together, and you send it back and forth, then next month they flop them. And it's hysterical, because you're getting two sets of ideas from supposedly the two people that are supposed to control this area. And you don't think, guys, where's the disconnect here? You know, you have all these plans that you want to do here. Now you're telling us you're just going to re-signalize this? You know, so it's tough to get straight answers out of them. But that's the same problem we have with the Starbucks. You know, we got it approved through this commission in a month, and it took 6 months to get DOT to sign off. And that's just the way DOT works. But we're there. It's like I said, that's the only major, and it's not even major, it just reconfigures the entrance a little bit. It's not a major reconfiguring.
All right.
And I apologize if anybody here has family in DOT, but it gets exasperating after a while. On Monday, you get a set of answers that's A, and on Thursday, you get a B.
Call the governor's
perceive
office.
they're
Election
doing their
year
job.
now. We should get
What's
some
that?
answers now.
I'm sure they perceive they're doing their job. Each and every one of them.
Actually, I think they're laughing all the way to the bank.
Very good, Al. Thank you.
Thank you. Does somebody want to make a motion about this?
Make a motion to approve in accordance with the submitted plan, together with the stated modifications.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're gonna, so Katie has, I guess we're gonna move till next month.
Thank you very much. Have a pleasant evening.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on here is discussion regarding the update of the town plan and conservation development. Maloney and Bloom are not gonna be, Maloney and Bloom are not gonna be here this evening. Michael's out of town, but we do have to set up some new meetings, additional meetings.
One question,
Yes.
after the last meeting, which, when was it, that night?
Last charrette.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which
last Tuesday.
wasn't supposed to be a charrette, was really supposed, my understanding was supposed to be more in terms of discussion on the proposals, specific proposals, as opposed to coming up with new ideas, but whatever. All those comments that were made,
Yeah.
what, and I know I collected a bunch of, you know,
I'm gonna mail them to you.
and are they going to be, what's going to be done with all those comments now?
Well, they're taking notes. They took notes from them. I did actually ask him to send me the PDFs of all of them. So I'll forward those to you guys. Is that okay?
Now, are they going to be incorporated in some way, or
Well,
are they going to be answered, or?
Well, not everything is an answer. I mean,
That's what-
it's to get input, and that we were showing a draft. We were showing a draft POCD, and it's to get more comments from people on if they read the sections of the POCD, which I think that actually most of the people there probably did read a lot of stuff, because everybody came pretty prepared for things they questioned. But the comments actually are pretty. I'll send them to you, so I don't want to talk like. Because nobody else has them, but they were fairly. They're actually most of the comments went along with what we're doing,
Okay.
and it was just. I mean, there was issues about, you know, where did this 3-family house come from? You know, allowing 3-family houses.
Okay.
So that'll be one of the things that we'll need to like kind of clarify and decide what we want to do. But I think that a lot of comments from what I read on there were things that we were already doing.
Okay.
to be honest with you.
Because I mean, I didn't see all the comments, obviously.
I know,
And so I don't know.
I realized as soon as you said it that it was only sent to me, and I actually was thinking it was sent to Chris and everybody,
Okay.
but it didn't, so I
Fine.
stand corrected. Apologize about that. But, give your input when you get these things. I thought it was, I'm not gonna tell you there were no negative things in there, but, I think the evening went pretty well, and I actually think that, my own feeling is standing there, was that people that were, sometimes negative were, first of all, I think people that were positive were saying pretty much the same thing we're already saying. And then the negative things, a lot of it had to do with people not realizing this is a 10-year plan. It's not something that's for tomorrow, and it's not necessarily next to the next door.
Okay.
So, other than the army showers, I just
That
couldn't go there.
was an offhand comment by one of the
I
members.
said that
and
should, that should go in a 10-year plan.
That's just talking about water conservation, Jeff, that's all.
I know, so, but we're not suggesting we put it in the POCD.
It's not gonna go in the
That's good.
POCD.
Okay, so, what did you guys think? You guys were, I don't know, so,
Yeah, I think there was a lot of concern, about traffic, How are you gonna develop this area without dealing with the traffic?
Yeah.
So that was a major concern.
I agree, and I think that is an issue, but I think that's also I think that's part of the POCD, but I think that shouldn't stop us from doing what we think is best down there.
Right.
With the caveat that obviously we have to deal with the
At some point, the traffic's
traffic
gonna be
issue.
addressed, hopefully.
Yeah, and I still don't actually understand why we can't do anything, but I haven't gotten into that yet. But anyway, yes, obviously, I agree, but I think we all agreed with that.
Right.
I don't think anybody said, no, can't do that.
Some of the country club discussion was very interesting, almost to a person. Everybody did want to maintain that open space, which I found very interesting. Because there wasn't the negativity that I had heard in prior commentaries.
So when I was in discussions with the Woodbridge Country Club, everybody agreed they didn't want a $7 million debt either. And at one point, somebody was quite adamant that why did the town spend money buying the country club to keep the developers out, and now we want to develop part of it? And I said, actually, out of that night that we made that vote, they told us that they would probably sell off part of it. And immediately 4 or 5 people at that table, who I don't even know, said, "Oh, that is true. That is exactly what was said." So I don't think people are off board on this. I think that
There's a few people who don't want to have any of it sold, but I think if you have a discussion, even with those people, they recognize that, balancing,
Right.
the issues, that might be a sensible result.
I did incur. I was at a open space table, and I was getting them to think about different vistas around town that we should put in that I would like to see put in the POCD to preserve, make any attempts to preserve that we can. So that was actually kind of interesting discussion. But everybody agreed with that was a good idea, kind of thing. And trying to think, I don't know what else. You were at one of the tables with me, but I actually stayed at that table. So I was at that economic table twice. And Stephen was at economic, and I went.
A lot
to
of people
space.
had different ideas for that. Bradley Road, there was 2 pieces on Bradley Road, but obviously the developers have, their own ideas, so. And one of them was there that evening, which was good, so. One of the owners.
Yeah.
Tremendous amount of frustration. You're talking about traffic,
Right.
the DOT, that whole, and
Absolutely.
people a certain number of people don't understand or can't appreciate that it's the state that's doing it.
Right.
It's not the town.
Right.
The town has nothing to do with this. And they get anxious and very annoyed about the whole situation. And I understand it, but what are you going to do?
Generally, I thought that there was less discussion of what was proposed than sort of generalized anxiety.
I saw that also.
But the one thing that they did pick out of the plan, I think Jeff is right, is this 3-family.
The couple of people,
Right.
yes.
3 family.
Right.
So, so I asked Michael about it. He said that it was actually it is allowed in one of our zones, and we're talking about increasing one of the zones, and that's how it gets there. But when I was talking, and I was saying, listen, the idea of expanding the village district is to control things like, this is the same neighborhood, everybody's sitting there, who didn't want two-family houses in there, but our hands were tied. And so I think people got that it's okay to have a little bit of control over things. I also think that all the things that if all the things that we're talking about go into the POC, I think we'll actually increase land values down there. I think there'll be more potential for different things. Certainly, it's not going to hurt.
It's changed a lot in the last 5-6 years.
It certainly has, and I hope that little pocket neighborhood stays there. But I don't think that's going anywhere
Right.
anytime soon.
Was there any commentary that you heard on these idea of the in-law apartments that we had talked about before in any of the
Nope.
get-togethers?
I didn't hear
I didn't hear
anything.
any of it.
I did not hear anything on that.
Nope.
So
Either for or against it, by the way.
I heard, the only things that I heard on it, just a couple of people commented that they thought it might be a good idea. And one of the comments I think that was made generally afterwards was the idea of if you could figure out a way to allow people then to improve their homes and, talk about this low interest loan, et cetera,
in
and
terms of
tie it together
including,
with the
yes.
in-law apartment that you would do it. So that was the context of that. I'm not sure
Yeah,
if
there
that
was
works.
actually something in the comments. Personally, I'm opposed for tax relief. I mean, there was a discussion in this written thing kind of about, and I heard it that night, but then I was reading it, about we should give tax relief for older people to keep their homes up, and therefore they could stay in their homes longer. That actually isn't necessarily good for the town. We would be in a better spot if we could provide alternate housing for empty nesters to
they can
downsize,
downsize.
stay in town, sell their homes. We still need families in town,
And families will update it. Right
and
away.
families will update it. And I wasn't at that table when all that, but I saw the notes on it. It was somebody had some plan in this discussion, but so I'm personally not a big fan of that. I don't think it helps the town at all. I mean, I immediately think of what happened in Southbury with Heritage Village,
Right.
which pretty much destroyed Southbury as far as schooling and things like that. And now, by the way, Heritage Village is probably shouldn't say that. It's pretty close to a slum.
Right.
I mean, it's
Is it that bad?
horrible
Oh, I didn't know.
because everyone's staying there and no one keeps it up and nobody wants to live there, and it's not a good scene. So they've hurt the town, and the people who hurt the town also left.
There are some low or no interest loans available to seniors, that the town through the state of Connecticut can, seniors can
Whether
obtain.
we say so or not.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
so it's good for, mandatory things like roofing, furnaces,
Yeah.
stuff that they need to live in. Gives them an option to, because there are those who want to stay, no one.
Yeah, but it's much more important to be able to downsize.
Yeah.
The whole concept of downsizing and staying within the
Right,
town.
they've got to have affordable choices.
Sure.
Yeah,
And I don't think someone who's necessarily going to stay in their house they're going to upkeep the certain part that they live in and the part they don't live in.
right.
So you're still going to be in the same dilemma. And I really think that the rotation, I mean, you're the realtor, the rotation of houses is what keeps the values up.
Right.
And
I think the tricky part is that, a lot of these homes that were built in the 60s and 50s, if they're worth, $275 to $350, when these seniors go to sell their homes,
Right.
are they going to be able to buy something in a 55 and an over community?
Yeah.
Or are they going to have to bring money to the table? And that's
Right.
what they don't want to do.
right, and I don't blame them. And I find all these projects incredibly frustrating because it kind of defeats the whole purpose. I mean, the projects that we've looked at for this town, I see the numbers, and I think they're trying to up the prices to tell us what this great value is, and I'm thinking you're kind of defeating the purpose of what you're doing,
Right.
from my standpoint anyway. So I agree with you. I do think it's a problem. But
unfortunately, that's in the hands of the developers who want to
Exactly.
be involved, and so you don't have as much a say as you might want to.
That's right,
You don't have very much say.
that's right.
Only through the zoning regulations. And, there are other towns who have looked at it, but they have a little different density issues. I mean, the biggest issue in Woodbridge, which is not like so many other communities, is the size of our lots.
Sure.
And they're large for reasons that are not necessarily related to things in other towns. So we got to work with that, plus and minus.
Well, not for, that's the idea behind trying to do some higher density areas.
We understand that. And
Where it is possible to do.
And that, that was a topic, when we were discussing as to where you have water and sewer, whether there should be higher density. And I will say this, that some of the people who are of a mind that maybe we want to continue open space and we don't want unrealistic development, their minds may not be changed. But I think in doing what's best for the town, we've got to look at that overall perspective.
Exactly.
Another discussion that came up at the housing table was, how we can better market, our town, to bring buyers in. So instead of them going to Orange or Milford, I mean, obviously, the school system have got 2 recent excellent ratings. But, do we have somebody out there who can market the town and show buyers, what it's worth? I mean, I don't know if that's the town planner, that's Betsy's job, but that was an interesting concept,
I agree with that. too. I think it's a good point. And also remember, Amity got one of those, a pretty awesome award.
Right.
And you can live in 2 other towns and still go to Amity.
Right, exactly.
So, which is something I think everybody kind of forgets. So,
But there's only one Beecher.
that is true. Chris, since I didn't actually get dates from Michael, I think we'll just have you start the email thread tomorrow.
So is he around at all, or?
I think he's getting his emails. I know he's out of town, but he's working, so.
Okay. So do you have any suggested dates when you want to come?
What are your guys, like next week what's people's availability next week?
Well, what is he gonna have available next week?
Well, he's gonna have more information. We gotta get cranking on this thing.
No, I understand, but,
He's supposed to be taking the stuff, well, he's not the only one working on this thing.
okay.
So I'm assuming Tim's working on it. and-
When I say him, I don't mean him.
So, I'm assuming they've already gone through this whole list and everything, on the, all the comments and everything like
Okay.
that. So they're moving forward in that stuff and taking that information. So, let's think of a couple nights, maybe one next weekend, one the following week or something like that.
Well, next week, I'm available Tuesday and Wednesday. The following week, I'm at a conference in Cleveland, so I'm not
All
available
week.
at all.
All week,
Through Wednesday.
through
It'll
the,
be Thursday and Friday. I don't think we usually have meetings on Thursday and Friday, so.
okay, so can you give me dates? I'm not sure what week you're talking about
14 and 15, I'm
Right,
available.
I got
The
that.
following week, I'm not.
at all. And then the week
end
after
of- The
that,
end of the week, I'll
oh,
be back.
so be back, so you could do a Thursday.
I could do it Thursday.
Okay, I can't do that. How about other people?
Next week, 14th or 15th is fine.
Talking about next Thursday?
No, next Tuesday or Wednesday. The
Yeah,
14th or
okay.
15th.
It should be okay.
Either date is fine for me. The following week,
Actually, Tuesday, I'll be fine.
Okay, so, and how about, and the following week,
21st, 22nd, 23rd.
although Alan's not here. Okay, and what about the following week? The weekend of the 27th, 26th,
Oh, 26th,
Anything
that week.
but
27th,
Halloween.
Well, that's Friday, so you're
Friday,
safe.
yeah.
27th or 28th,
That's
Monday or
good.
Tuesday.
So I think we should ask him about the 14th and the 15th and the 27th and the 28th. Is that-
That's fine.
That's fine.
You got it.
Great. And, okay. Okay, cool. So Chris and I went back and forth today on this moratorium on marijuana. And I questioned about why we needed this moratorium, but Peggy's not here tonight. I thought maybe she would tell us this. I don't know what everyone's feeling is on this. I mean, my feeling was, why do we need a moratorium? I think what is more important is that we at least address it in our regs and we say where we want it. Or I should say, we say where we want it because where we don't want it. So,
I agree. I think we put something in our regs.
So the moratorium, whatever.
I think moratorium is if you had, well, something before you, you know.
Yeah.
Or if
We
you
don't.
think you're gonna have something before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, why do we, I mean, it's, why is it any different than a pharmacy? I don't know. I don't know what everybody thinks, but.
I haven't seen what the regs permit in other towns, where they allow them, I assume, some type of special.
Well, where do you think we should allow them?
Offhand? Well, I guess you should be more restrictive than not. And I haven't really thought it through as to exactly the space you'd want to utilize, but.
I'd like to tell you we should put it every place but next to the teen center, but we certainly move around that in this town. No bars, but we put a bar in. So, at least they won't have to drive. So I don't know, I think that we should come up with something that just addresses it in the regs. I just don't want us to be knee-jerking like a lot of times we get here, someone comes up and they want to do something and we haven't even addressed it. And therefore, we're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Well, I mean, you.
Gun shops,
What have other,
tattoo parlors, all the above. So, I mean, I just think we need to at least address it. And I'm not saying I'm not saying we should address it in a bad way. I just think we have more clout on sitting up here requiring something if we've talked about it.
so it's in terms of how many feet from, I mean, that's the way you would do it.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't have
If
it
it's
within
important.
X amount.
If it's important.
Exactly. Well, the first question is, other than, obviously, you can't have it in a residential A zone to begin with, do we care?
Yes.
No, I think we
Okay.
definitely need to care,
Okay.
just because I see what happens when we don't.
From adverse publicity, from, adverse comment, but, I can make an argument that you shouldn't care, considering how it's governed in Connecticut. This is not Colorado.
I agree.
Okay, and, the limitations on marijuana, who can buy is so restricted here that you can make an argument, who cares? But if you do that, then if you do want to govern it in some way in terms of then it becomes a question of how many feet from a school, religious sale of alcohol, something like that.
Okay, well, the other thing, the way to look at it is, why wouldn't we think about it as no different than a pharmacy? And we don't require pharmacies to be certain distances from churches or schools.
Then, in effect, you're not
That's,
regulating it. Other than the fact.
I'm not actually too worried about it.
No.
Yeah, I
Neither-
just wanted the word in there.
Oh.
I want us to talk about it. I
Okay.
want the word in there that says we've addressed it. If we decide that it's no different than a pharmacy, then I wanted to say, we treat a marijuana distribution point or a dispensary as
Okay.
no different than a pharmacy, for instance.
So that's a dispensary. Now, what about a cultivation?
We haven't talked about it. That's why we're talking about it.
No, what I'm saying is that would be a different situation.
I got some land.
Well,
That would be it, you're right. So I think
That's a
that's
good
one of the
point.
things, we need to address that. I think we need to, again, say it. Put it down someplace.
Well, you could, I mean, again, playing the devil's advocate, you could always, enlist the moratorium while you're working on it and actively work on it And this way you're protected while you're working on it and you don't have any problems.
Can you enact a moratorium without public hearing,
Well, no, you have to go
You
through the
have to go
process.
through the process
Says-
of adopting a moratorium, and it
Right, okay.
requires a public hearing.
And so the question is, if we're going to go through the whole public hearing, why not just do something?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, because I just don't know whether or not in the time period before an application were submitted, if it were,
Okay.
that you would be 100% protecting yourself in terms of making any final decisions. If you had a moratorium in place, then you would be 100% protected for the reasonable time period, assuming you went through the proper process.
I would tend to agree with you on the moratorium with respect to growing,
Right.
But maybe not dispensing.
but not dispensing.
And that may be true.
And in terms of, should we treat dispensing any different than a pharmacy? And if the answer is no, then why to go through the whole thing? Why not just do it and, as you say, put the language in the regs with respect, and maybe it takes much more thought
As far as the cultivation.
on the cultivation issue, because it does have different ramifications to it as to where it can be done, where it can't be done. And I don't know what the regulations are under the state of Connecticut as to cultivation either. I have no idea what the hell that is.
Yes, it would seems to me that if you just start with the dispensing, and you realize that there's some restrictions already on that at the state level, then I guess we have to become conversant with that. And then I would think we'd also want to see if there's any other communities that may actually have not just enacted a moratorium, but may have actually, have zoning, laws in effect that address that. And we can just look at what they have, and I presume we could ask Chris, to just dig up if there are some around.
I wonder if
And then we
yeah,
might
it's a good
understand
question.
why they have them if they do. They may
seriously.
not.
There are,
That's
my understanding is there's now
growing
two,
season.
I think you would do this,
there's
put this
four
out. but get pretty-
growers.
There's four growers.
I think there are 4 approved growers.
But it may be a different growing
And a
season.
couple of
Because I agree with you, every time I go.
Very
I
few.
look at them,
in the
They
state of
can
Connecticut.
grow it indoors.
What did you say, it's
too.
very
So in greenhouses.
Yeah.
So you don't need,
In fact, from what I understand, there's maybe 2 or 3 doctors in the entire state who will certify right now. Will give you the certification necessary for you to get the individual.
Right, the individual permit to be.
Yeah, it's that restricted.
And Gary Mullen happens to know a lot about this. Unfortunately, we can't get him here yet, back here to work. So,
Oh, he does?
yeah. So maybe we should ask Chris to put some, if we say it's a pharmacy, then we could just be putting into the definitions of what a marijuana dispensary is.
The only thing I do agree with Alan on one thing. I would like to find out what the state regulations are in terms of distribution. I have no idea.
Yeah, there is one in Connecticut now.
Oh, I know.
Bristol, I think, of all places. That's where they grow tobacco.
And I think there are 3 or 4 approved growers in the state.
So maybe you could get us
And
that
we're gonna be meeting
information,
over the
Chris.
next-
Is that possible?
Well, we're going to be around, so we can
Yeah.
actually.
What
put
the
on
state
the
regs
agenda.
are?
Yeah.
State regs
And
and,
whether any towns have adopted
right,
regulations.
As to cultivation or dispensing.
right. Okay, great.
See somebody wanting to use the merit. Easy access, easy off, easy on.
It's not
Yeah, but
that
you can't
easy.
do it- you can't
It's
do it.
not that easy.
We're talking about transportation, I was just mixing it up with this issue a bit. Okay.
Okay, 2 other things. One is, I would like us to change the ad into our trash bin enclosures to include 2 family houses and above. and we actually have taken residential out of it altogether, so, but people immediately, hit me up with well, actually, not as much two-family houses, but it should be two-family houses, but, here we are considering some higher density housing and.
But we talked about possibly making it an ordinance so that it applies to everybody, just not a new application. Because really,
Well, we're not the ones that do the ordinance,
right,
so we can put a request into the Board of Selectmen. I think we should, why don't we just address it as a reg, and then I think the whole thing should be a request for an ordinance, which, by the way, I'm gonna guess isn't gonna happen until next summer, no one's even gonna talk to us about it. Just saying. That's my guess. So, does anybody have a problem just putting it on here, and then we'll just,
Are we talking about two-family houses and lot, or more
Yes.
than two-family?
I personally think two-family houses and above, because actually the people that sent me photos from around town were showing me two-family houses. So I'm gonna say two-family houses.
Are they have dumpsters or trash cans?
They have trash cans and dumpsters, but
Because trash cans are regulated by the ordinance, which is enforced by the Public Works Director.
What's the ordinance?
Huh?
What ordinance?
There's a trash ordinance
Okay.
for the placement of trash cans, and it's enforced by him.
I would say, I would still stick to two-family houses and above. If
We
it's,
don't have above, except for assisted living.
we're actually talking about adding things, so let's plan
Well,
ahead here.
let me just mention one thing to you. You have a budget for legal ads, and every time we do a hearing, it costs a lot of money. So if you're gonna do stuff, I would suggest that you try to get a whole bunch of things together rather than, because we've already chewed through pretty much the legal ad stuff for this year, and we still have to do the legal ads for the town plan, that thing and whatnot. So I would suggest to you, get a whole bunch of things together rather than doing them individually, because the cost gets prohibitive to do it that way.
So Jeff, if you're talking about screening trash cans for two-family property,
Well, I'm actually, if you have a dumpster, our thing talks about dumpsters, it doesn't talk about trash cans.
Okay.
So I think that,
So it only applied to dumpsters?
because we have technically, I guess, we have something like
It
trash.
only applied to commercial sites. It
Right.
didn't apply to residential.
Right,
Okay.
but with
But
dumpsters.
yeah, so you're not trying to regulate somebody's two trash cans?
Not at all, not even close.
And those are regulated.
Right, those are regulated.
Through the ordinance. They can't be in the front yard, they can't be within 15 feet of another house. With the residential districts that are down where the houses are closer, you've only got 40-foot wide lots or 50-foot wide lots, so it really doesn't, it forces them to put it in a backyard, basically, and if they're not adhering to that, then you have to report it and get it enforced. But that's enforced through, as I said, Public Works, not through the police department or anyone.
So, I wasn't necessarily saying do it right this second, by the way.
Okay,
but
well, I'm just saying,
I
if
understand.
you're,
I appreciate that. Okay, so the other thing we have is, I did some cut and pasting of stuff that Chris had sent me on the clothing bins, the donation things. Which I think we used to be lucky that they were always put down in Amity Shopping Center, but now I see them creeping up into Woodbridge. So, a lot of this is, most of this is like cut and pasted, other than the things that say Town of Woodbridge, I changed the names, protect the innocent. These things are from other towns. They don't talk about enclosures, but I think actually it's hard to put these things in enclosures because
People
their
have to be-
names are on the container.
Yeah, and you couldn't do it anyways. in
Because
some
people have to be able
sites.
to get into it.
Yeah.
What did you say?
Well, at the transfer station, you have it, you have a couple of those as you go into the transfer station, so.
Oh, okay, well,
I'm just thinking about the locations.
that's what I'm saying. So locations are actually more important than the enclosure. To be honest with you.
Yes.
Because if it's in places like at the landfill,
Correct.
I certainly wouldn't be looking for any closure. Also, this does talk about, so Chris, I was trying to get your input on this as far as the fine. And are we allowed to do stuff like this?
That's where, the regulations in that section it's section 8. 2:1. It quotes to the state statutes. And that fine schedule that's in there is straight out of the statutes. So we'd have to ask town council.
So we should look
if
at
we can
that.
do anything more stringent or different than that.
Or it may be fine, I don't know what the statute says.
What we say is, anybody who takes part or assists in any violation or shall maintain any building or premises in which such violation shall exist shall be fined not less than $10 nor more than $100 for each day that the violation shall continue. But if the offense be willful, the person convicted thereof shall be fined not less than $100 nor more than $250 for each day that such violation shall continue, or imprisoned not more than 10 days for each day that such violation shall continue, or both. The circuit court has jurisdiction over such offenses, subject to appeal as in other cases.
I was going to
How
say,
old is
that's
that?
fairly old, because the circuit court went out of existence in 1965.
Well, I'm just saying, that's what,
It was a little later than that.
Is that true?
Which,
It's not here anymore.
still here when I
The point is,
started,
it's not
Maybe
here.
68, well, the Superior Court, the circuit
Why
court
is it
was
surprising that
folded
that's
into the
in our
common police court maybe around
There
70.
was still a circuit court in the early 72, 73.
Maybe there was, because the common pleas, everything got folded in 78.
Right,
I
that's
know
probably
that.
what it was.
So it's somewhere pre-1978 is the language
So
you're
maybe
reading.
we should,
just
maybe,
telling you what your regs say.
I understand, so
so
we
we have-
might want to look at updating our regs in that respect.
Yes.
a lot of places
Okay.
actually.
Well, by default, if the statute says something, that's what you have to run with, whether your regs have been updated or not.
Whether the statute.
I don't think the
Yeah.
statute is
Can't do that
applicable in this day and age, and if that statute says circuit court, we don't have one.
Right, so it means nothing, actually, doesn't it?
It may have
Well-
been updated this time.
No, I mean, they may just say,
Must-
you know,
must have
circuit
been
will now
updated.
be said to be Superior Court, and then that's it. So-
Yeah, but if current statute allows a higher fine and we have a lower fine, then we're stuck with a lower fine
Right.
normally.
I'm not town council,
But I do think the question that Jeff raised is legit, which
Yeah.
is that, do we, as a
Can we do
zoning
this?
commission, have a right to impose fines, or is that something left to the Board of Selectmen to be able to do it through ordinance?
Well, actually, I don't, just a clarification, I wasn't thinking that we can, I'm just saying that we want to pass something, and actually it looks like this, and the police are the ones that actually give out the tickets for these things.
No, but I'm just saying, are
Can we
we
do something that
permitted
requires a
to
fine?
adopt a regulation that imposes a fine
Right.
without the action of some other?
Well, the dollar
law?
amount sounds like it must be a statute.
Okay.
Question is, can we do it at all?
Which is penalties?
Yeah, which a violation of any structure, so on and so forth. It's a
I would sort of, if we're gonna ask town council to do anything, just to verify that that's still legit within our jurisdiction. I mean, I don't know the answer off the top of my head. I presume that zoning violations can carry civil penalties, including
Right.
fines.
Right.
Whether they carry imprisonment remains to be seen, but, if you look at some of the other regs, they do talk about imprisonment.
If you have the general one, you don't need the specific. In other words.
That's true.
So can we,
This
maybe we
one
should send this
is
to
the one that
Jerry and
needs
ask
to
him
be looked at, and
what
the
this
other
thing
one
should
you
actually
wouldn't
say
even
as
need.
opposed to referring to this.
So maybe we should
because it
just,
is a structure, and therefore it would come with the.
Okay.
Find the statute,
yeah, I agree.
and then I'll check with
Okay. And, so I guess the other thing is, again, I haven't really gotten into this other than I just hear people complain. So on our whole blight thing in town, do we not have fines with that, with our blight, or we do have fines? Oh,
It's established within the ordinance.
That's why I'm saying maybe
Yeah,
you need
right.
the ordinance to sort of go along with it.
And that has a hearing officer provision in the whole 9 yards.
Okay, cool.
I don't know of anything that's gotten to the point of being before a hearing officer.
Okay, so then let's, I mean, if everybody could like I mean, take a look at this and we can
Sure.
talk about it again next month if that's, and we'll find out from Jerry about how much money we can charge, or if we can charge.
Makes sense.
Okay. Okay, do we have any correspondence? I don't think so. We have a lot of approval of minutes.
Yep.
So July, should we do them all, let's do them, we do them one at a time. July 7th,
Move to approve.
discussion? We should have just pulled this out when John Paul was here. Well, I noticed he had more information, didn't he?
He did have some more information, you're right.
That was interesting. I don't think he was gonna tell us anything. Okay, so, is there any discussion on this? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Always
He
one.
wasn't fast.
See, Larry did read the minutes.
Excused.
Good.
He read that he was excused. Okay, July 23rd, special meeting. Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to accept those.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye. You weren't here.
I abstained. I don't know to see if it was here.
August 25th, we had a special meeting.
I was here, so I'll move the approval.
All right, is there a second? Second. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right.
A lot of meetings.
September 2nd,
Yeah. Move to approve.
you gonna get a check for each one of these?
Yeah.
We were here.
I have one correction, or
Okay, here you go.
top of page 2. It's definitely, would the underside be lit? I think it's LIT instead of LITE.
Yeah.
Should I even read it?
I'm totally impressed. Okay, anything else? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. I think that's it. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Adjourned.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Is there a second for a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Take your pick.
Seconds.
Take your pick.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And so we'll get.